welcome to Hedgehog Hollow and welcome to this Inktoberfest bonus video. Today I want to share with you the new range of scrapbook.com inks. They're a hybrid ink and you may well know that they're one of my favourite types of ink to work with. They're a really lovely clamshell design. There's 49 colours, there's one white pigment and then there's a dye black as well. They also have a really nice click to open and close them, and they have finger grips on the side as well, so it's not easy to open them, or not too hard either, but you can also hear a nice click when they go back together again, so you're not going to have any of those lids falling off. And hybrid ink has some really nice qualities, so let's get started and find out what they're like. So first of all, let's talk about the colour selection. So there are 49 of the hybrid pads, and I'll get to why hybrid is so special in a moment. There's also one dye pad, there's a black dye pad, and there is a white pigment ink. So there's 51 pads in total. You've got 4 shades of rose, so they kind of go through here. And in the beginning, you'll have seen some pretty footage of them all out in rainbow order. We have the cardinal red, we have 4 pinks, so they kind of go from light to dark, which is perfect if you want to use layering inks, layering stamps rather. So something like the Alter New Flower stamps, available at scrapbook.com, and I'll link up a couple in the description below for you. But you could of course then layer through the different shades of pink, and that's all done for you, which is amazing and wonderful. We have all 4 shades of orange, 4 shades of yellow, 4 shades of green. We also have a dark green here in the pine, 4 shades of sky blue, 4 shades of cyan blue, 4 blue blues, and then we have the 4 violets, and we have 4 wood in here as well, which would be perfect for sort of a wood grain background. We have 3 tans, so they go from sugar cookie to cinnamon. We have 2 greys, or 3 greys actually, 3 greys as well. And then we have that white pigment pad, the premium dye pad in black, and then we have the hybrid ink in the black as well. So a huge colour selection, which I love. And if you've watched Hedgehog Hollow before, you will know I'm a huge fan of hybrid inks. I've tried lots of them in the past and I love every single one, some more than others. But we are going to explore why hybrid ink pads are so very special. I also want to mention, so with the white pigment pad, you're going to get that wonderful white ink that you can use on black. And because it's a pigment ink, you're also going to be able to use it on black cardstock, and you could heat emboss with it as well. And then you have that black dye ink pad if you want to use your alcohol markers, or you have a preference for dye ink, you can absolutely use that for that as well. But I'm going to show you some fun techniques. I'm putting these all around me so that you, so I can pick different colour schemes as we do different things. So I mentioned they would be great for your layering stamp sets. So let's start with just some stamping. And as this is part of Inktober as a bonus thing, we're going to use some of our wonderful tags here. And I'm using one of the new scrapbook.com stamp sets. This is the Good Tidings of Great Joy. As usual, everything is linked in that video description for you. And I actually used these stamps amongst some other of the new scrapbook.com ones for a card the other day. Check that top right hand corner now for it to come through. So I want to show you how crisp these stamp out. I did have a little bit of a practice run, and I was really impressed with how crisp they were. So you can see there, I've got a nice dark black, intense kind of really crisp. You can see all the details here. I'll lift this up so you can see all the details of that star there are super, super crisp. Really, really lovely. So great for our stamping. Then we're going to, excuse me, we're going to stamp out again on the bottom. Like this. Now, the properties of hybrid ink are that, I did over ink that one, so I should cover, if you get a really juicy pad, it's a great problem to have, but all you need to do is just take a piece of cardstock. This is just my regular stamping cardstock. I have it by the ream, so I have lots of it. Take a piece of cardstock, just kind of pat it off. In those darker areas, it's juicy. When you start getting a nice even tone all over like that, you know it's perfect. And also when you tap on it, I probably pressed a little bit too hard. If you tap nice and lightly, you'll get a really nice stamp on there. Of course, you could use a stamp tool and then you can do a couple of light layers to build it up. But this is fine for what I want to demonstrate to you. And I am going to quickly heat dry it. So if you leave this to fully dry, you don't need to necessarily heat set it. But because we're on video, I try to move a little bit quicker. So I'm just going to heat dry it. Now, hybrid inks on non-porous surfaces will take some experimentation. In general, I have found that they work. It does depend on the brand, but they also need a heat set. So if you're using on acetate, you want to use acetate that you can use heat on. If you are using ceramics and things, again, you're going to need to heat set it. Just do a test area and just double check before you go. But the great thing about hybrid inks is what I want to show you here. So I'm going to cover that up, and I'm also going to cover half of this up. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to spritz it with water, and I'm going to lift this up, and you're going to see that it doesn't react. And that is one of the amazing things about hybrid inks. And I'm just grabbing a Sharpie here. So here I added water, and on this side I'm going to add alcohol markers. So I'm going to take this cover piece just to cover it up and make sure I don't go over it. So this is a Copic. You can use any alcohol marker, but I'm going to colour over it, and you're going to see there's a little bit of bleed there. Maybe it's not dry enough, but in general, like here where I know it's definitely dry, there's no bleed at all. There's no bleed here either. So I'm going to say that this is down to the fact that it wasn't dry, because if I go over that other area that was next to it, there's no bleed at all. So it's not going to react with the alcohol markers. You just need to make sure it's super, super dry. That's my one tip on there. But this is hybrid ink on stamping, so you can do lots of things with that. So that's one use for our hybrid inks. Now you can also use it on watercolor paper. This is just Canson watercolor paper. And again, I can take that stamp. Let's take our black ink again. Just that hybrid ink. And I'm going to go lighter this time. And so it's going to stamp out perfectly. So I can watercolor with this because, as we just showed, when you spritz it with water and you know your ink is dry, it's not going to budge. But if I did it with watercolor and I wanted to then add some details in Copic marker, or if I'd coloured in Copic on some Copic cardstock and then I wanted to add some Midas touch over the top, which are water-based, I can do that. I can come in with some liquid watercolour. I can use any medium I want because that hybrid ink isn't going to react. And once it's fully dry, it's smudge-proof, it's colour-fast, it's all of those wonderful things on there. So you can again do that on there. And what I do each day, if you haven't seen, is I have a tag book. Mine has gone for a little walk. I think it was on my desk earlier in the office. And every day I add these tags into it. I quite often show it off. I can see it. I can grab it. So these are those tags that I add every single day. These were the a couple of days ago video linked up there. We did things with alcohol lifting, and I've yet to put these into tags and cut them down, but I will add them to my ring. And I also need to catch up on Betsy's piece from yesterday as well. It might even be the day before. It depends on when we get this uploaded, but Bets did an amazing piece on aquaflows, and there's a few other things in there as well. So I'm going to try and keep up every day to be able to do that. So I will write, in the top I write the day that I'm on. So for instance, this is my day 2 tag, and I write the day so that I know what video I want to come back to. So this will be today's date, and I'm going to write bonus so I know what I'm looking for. There is also a complete Inktoberfest playlist. You can easily find it. You can subscribe to that. Again, top right hand corner. And then what I've done on here is I've just written what I've done each day. And then I write distress, and then I write dye, dry and spritz, and so on. So everything I've done each day, I've put some notes against, my day 3s, and so I can just keep this as a great quick reference guide at the end of Inktoberfest. I can keep it on a little hook in my craft room, and I can refer back to whichever video I want to find. And trust me, I forget the techniques that I've videoed, so this has been really handy for me. So let's now move on to blending. So yes, you can blend hybrid inks. Again, it depends on brand. I did have a play with these scrapbook.com ones and they did work really nicely. The tool makes a difference, and for blending with these hybrid inks, I like working with the new scrapbook.com stencil brushes. I'm a huge fan of stencil brushes. I've used them for a long time. I used to use barber brushes before they were popular, and now you can get these amazing ones that have this beautiful taper on them, and they have a really kind of nice soft feel about them. So I am a stencil brush junkie. I have way too many of them. In fact, right now I have a cauldron full of them for our Halloween themed decor, which you may have seen behind me when I introduced this video. But let's take a shade. I'm going to go with Oasis, which is one of the cyan family. It's the second one. And so another thing I should point out is you have these wonderful finger grips on the side here. So you can see there's those finger grips, and that allows you to open that pad mess free. So super, super easy with those finger grips on there. Really like that kind of design that they've put on there. So I'm going to just pick up ink as I always would. And now I'm going to start going in. Now remember, hybrid ink is a hybrid between pigment and dye ink, which means it kind of has the good and the bad of both inks. It's going to sit on a dark surface a little bit more than a pigment, but it's also going to soak in like a dye ink. So you would have to layer. Again, lighter colours are going to work better. Also, if you put a layer of pigment ink down first, so if you put some of this white pigment ink on it, heat dry it, I suggest 1 to 2 coats. Again, experimentation is key. And then you can stamp on top with a colour, you'll see more of it. And that's when a hybrid really comes out nicely. So you can see here how I'm blending this. My brush is still a little bit wet from where I washed it, but that's actually no bad thing, because what it's helping me is move that ink a little bit more. You can also stipple, so if that's the technique you want. You can also lay down huge amounts of ink. So you can see here, if I stipple on top, A, I get a different effect, and B, I can get a darker colour. But I really can build up those layers, so I can get it darker and darker. I could now go in with a darker shade, so I could go in with my deep sea. Again, use those finger pieces on the side. And the great thing is, if I can't open it with one hand, I know it's really sealed and that I'm not going to then get dry inks next time I go to use them. So you can see here how I can get this darker colour, and if I work quick enough, I can fade them together like this. So you absolutely can blend with hybrid inks, or particularly these hybrid inks. I've had limited success depending on what inks I use. Some work better than others, but the scrapbook.com ones definitely work really, really well. And we'll link them all in the description, any colours I've used in the video. And I'll also link the bundle. You can buy them in the bundle, which saves you a lot of money to buy them bundled in that way. And that's how I bought the previous scrapbook.com inks. They were dye-based inks. They were not hybrids. I bought the bundle. But the other thing I'm going to say about blending, so I'm blending here on the Distress stamping cardstock. Now with hybrid inks, I find that that is the best one to blend on. Now I could blend on my regular cardstock, and I have some here so I can show that to you. But what I find is, because it has some quick drying properties to it, it's a little bit harder. So yes, you can see here, it's possible. You can build it up to give you a nice smooth blend. It takes a little bit more work. And you can see it tends to end up a little more blotchy than if I was using something like a distress ink. So I would say that with hybrid inks, they're great for blending, but the paper you use is key. And therefore, I would suggest getting some of that stamping distress paper. Scrapbook.com stock it. Again, links in those descriptions for you and on the blog. But you can see the difference between the two and how much kind of smoother and creamier this comes out. And if I kept going, I could get rid of those brush marks as well. You can use those round blending tools too, that will work. And then the other option you have for blending inks, and let's pick some different colours to do that, are the new scrapbook.com daubers. Now these are great. They sent these to me and I was heavily entertained because, I don't know about you, but storing daubers before could be a bit of an issue. You could get dauber cases and things like that, but these are great because they stack. So I can stack them as long as I can, and yes, we did have the stacking leaning tower of daubers. And then they also come in this awesome case. I think I need one more. There we go. So you can also store them in this case, and you could store them like color family. You could store them however you want to do that. So they come in this, and you could write on the side or add a piece of washi tape or a label, any of those things. And so you can store those. And they also have these jumbo sponge daubers as well. So let's play with those. I am going to play on the back of my distress paper because I will cut it in half lengthways so that I can create tags and write some notes. So I only need to use half of it. So again, I'm going to say that the paper you use is key. And that distress stamping cardstock is perfect. Nina works okay, but it doesn't have that coating on it that your distress paper is going to have. So I'm going to work with a couple of the pinks. I'm going to work with Havana Red and with Carnival Pink. So let's open these up. So you can do the typical kind of fun things where you can build up Christmas trees and triangles and shapes by just kind of using the dauber. You can also, if you want to change colours within a stencil, you can see how creamy, I don't have any brush marks or anything, I instantly get a really creamy blend. I'll lift it up so you can see. And that is using that small dauber. It fits on the end of your finger and off you go. Now you can also do that with these larger ones, and there is a place you can pop your finger in if that's how you like to work, or if you want to hold it, there's holes, and there are actually grooves in here as well so that you can hold your dauber as well. And so this is just going to enable you to cover a much larger area. And I mean, you're not going to see the other side of this, but you can also get that haze. And that hazy effect can also be kind of fun. If you want to do like a blizzard of snow, you could take that white pigment pad and you could kind of create these hazes and things on there as well. Of course, you can blend that white pigment pad too. And then you've also got a premium dye ink, which depends on the things you want to do. It's going to react with water because it's dye based, and same attracts, opposites don't. So you wouldn't want to use it with anything water-based, but it works really well with your Copic markers, alcohol markers, the Ultra New markers, Tonic, Nuvo markers, all of those things as well. So that was just really a quick overview of hybrid inks, why they're special, why you need them in your Inktoberfest ring. We do have a focus on another set of hybrid inks later in the month, and one of our designers is going to be working on that to show you some of those too. But I am a real fan of these new scrapbook.com ones. I like the fact I can blend with them. I have to say they're one of the better, if not the best, at blending. That is the creamiest blend I've ever had, in part thanks to their new tools. Again, links below. And then I also love the fact that I can use my brushes with them. These brushes are amazing. They're like one of the more expensive versions, but a lot better value in my opinion. 3 come in a pack, and you can wash them or you can keep them to one colour. And then of course you have this wonderful selection of the 49 hybrids, and I hope we've kind of converted you to a hybrid ink pad. I love the fact I don't have to think about what I want to use on a project. I can go in with my hybrid, I can stamp everything out, and then I can choose what I want to use, or I can use a combination of all sorts of things. And of course you've got sort of 49 colours, you have the one dye, and then you have the pigmented white, which is just awesome too. So you can heat emboss and do all sorts of fun things, and it allows you to stamp in black. And if you stamp with this and then stamp with a colour on top, then you'll find that that stands out more on black as well. So there's another top tip for you. I also love how they come in this 1, 2, 3, 4, so that if you have those layering stamps like the Ultra New ones, you could just easily use this, and it's super simple and it's marked on there. Many inks, even if they come in those kind of blending combos, don't mark what's 1, 2, 3, and 4 through the combination. So I love the fact that they've marked that on these, and I could use them in that way. So thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications of more Inktoberfest and beyond videos. Don't forget to check out those links in the description, and we'd love if you gave us a thumbs up. And of course, go check out these pads at scrapbook.com. A link is in that description below for you. We'll see you very soon. Happy stamping. Bye.